Hi guys, and welcome to my new review series on my channel. I've tried to be a little bit more sensible in my dress code and therefore put on some sensible glasses in order to understand what is important for a car in order for it to be a good car for everyday use. Today we'll be starting the series called Relevant Reviews, and we'll be asking a series of questions in order to understand if this Jaguar is a real Jaguar. Does it have the same presence, the same elegance as a Jaguar should, or is it just a distant ugly cousin like the Audi A2 is? So now we have to figure out, is this Jaguar, the baby Jaguar, basically the Jaguar range, is it actually a real Jaguar? And I think that's a very important question to answer throughout this review. And we'll be answering several different questions that hopefully in the end will give us an answer whether this Jag is actually a real Jag or whether it's just a distant cousin. So first of all, what are the requirements for this Jaguar to be a real Jag? A Jaguar is just as much a statement as wearing a nice suit. Some of the driving capabilities of this car have quite obviously been sharpened for it to be a very good car to drive, not only on the motorway but actually on a good country lane as well. It might have electronic steering assistance, but I think they've done a very good job to make it feel light but still slightly weighted. At the moment I'm driving in eco mode, so I save fuel and the environment of course, but obviously on this rainy day here in Denmark I think everybody should just get a petrol car so we can warm up this miserable weather. Even though I'm sure you can see this road is a slightly bumpy road, the Jag's suspension and underpinnings give me plenty of confidence to carry plenty of speed throughout this country lane. So we're on to the next question. What makes this car stand out from its competition? Well, it's up against some very, very stiff competition in the form of the Mercedes C-Class W205 and the BMW 3 Series. Obviously there are a few others, but I think we should focus on these two. First of all, the Mercedes C-Class has, in my opinion, probably the best interior throughout the segment. This Jaguar is very close to the C-Class in my opinion. It's also got the piano black finish and a center console for the navigation. The dials are also very nice, but it doesn't feel quite as special as the Mercedes, but still is a very, very nice interior to be in. The seats hug you very nicely, and I think they are very, very good. And I think the seating position is also very nice and quite low. What I also really enjoy about driving this Jaguar is that when you're peering out over the front of the bonnet, you can just see a slight curve in the bonnet, and I think that makes you feel very cool. Compared to the 3 Series, the 3 Series in my opinion is far more bland inside. It's also slightly more boring to look at. It doesn't give you the excitement as a Jaguar should. Whereas I think this Jag makes you feel quite special because it is a Jaguar. Price-wise, it's very close to the C-Class, but slightly more expensive than the BMW, as both the Mercedes and the Jaguar are. This model, I think, with the R Sport exterior, makes it look extra special with the slightly more special alloy wheels. It gives you a more aggressive aero pack. Not that the aero makes a massive difference on the driving of the car, because it absolutely doesn't, but I think it makes it look a lot more aggressive and not as sensible necessarily, which I like obviously, but I'm also a younger individual. Is this car green? Well, no, it's black, but it is rather economical. Sometimes if you drive it carefully, if you drive it sensibly, you can actually get up to all the way up to 20 odd kilometers per litre, which is very, very good. Once I've heard that the owner of this car actually got to do 25 kilometers per litre of diesel, and that is actually more than it's supposed to be able to do. So that's pretty incredible. It's very economical and it's very fuel efficient. If you drive it carefully, and the different driving modes that you have and you're able to select down here on the controls enables you to go from a more dynamic driving style or comfort driving style as it is in now to a dynamic driving style, and all the way back to eco. The eco mode actually enables the car to, or prevents the driver from accelerating too hard, and makes the whole car more relaxed to drive in order to save fuel. There's also a snow and rain mode, so if it's very slippery, it'll prevent the car from doing any wheel spin from the traffic lights. I know many of you probably would have loved this car to have been dark green as the British racing green colour that the Jaguars were in the old days, but I promise you this black on this car really makes it look very, very special. That brings us to our next question. Is it practical? Well, obviously it has 4 seats. It doesn't have that much leg space, so if you're a person, I'm not very tall necessarily, but I have quite long legs, so because of that my seat is very, very far back, and obviously that takes up a lot of leg room in the back. The boot has plenty of space, depending on what your needs are. Now obviously I'm not that tall, but I'm at least 180 centimeters, and there's plenty of space for me in there. Otherwise it's basically just as practical as any other sedan. So what is this car best at? I wouldn't actually be able to mention one specific thing that this car is good at. I think it's very good at very many different things. It's very good at driving through a town, it's quiet, it's very refined. Obviously it's raining heavily here in Denmark, so I'm sure it's making a little bit more noise than it would usually. But otherwise this is a very refined, very nice car to drive in almost any condition there is. So I can't say that there's one thing it's very good at, it's just a very good all-round car. I'm sure the V6 supercharged version of this XE is a even more exciting beast to drive, but I think the 2-litre diesel in this car makes it very refined, very sensible, as a Jaguar in many ways should be. So one of our last questions is this car a fun car, or is it more of a family car? Well, we focused a lot on practicality and how sensible this car is, and as a Jaguar it should be sensible, it should be able to transport a family in good comfort. And I think, although that the leg space is sometimes a little bit short in the back, I think this is a very, very sensible, very good car, and a very family-oriented car. Yes, it looks far more interesting than many other 4-door saloons, but obviously it must, otherwise it wouldn't be a Jag. So, what are we able to conclude from this test? Well, is this car really a Jaguar? From what I've only spent a couple of hours in the car now, and I feel that it definitely is. It definitely has the presence as a Jaguar should, and I think that is one of the main things of a Jaguar. It looks fantastic and it feels fantastic, and it's very, very refined to drive. Therefore, I think we can definitely conclude that although this car is a family car, or mostly a family car, but I've really enjoyed my time in it. So, although it's a family's sensible car, it's definitely still a Jag.